Agencies all across the tri-states continue to fight to recruit more employees. At Western Illinois University this afternoon, more than 100 employers gathered to attract more students to the field. The LEJA Career Fair is the largest recruiting event in Western Illinois. Some employers traveled from as far away as Texas to recruit.
I think events like this are great to reach people, especially those interested in law enforcement, or even those who aren't sure what type of job they want, but they thought about going to policing. We have people from all walks of life coming to policing.
The Macomb Police Department is looking to recruit more officers. They're currently accepting applications, and they are due on May 1st.